Hello everybody, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Psychological Health Consultants and Services with my program Redefining Yourself, a program that was developed for women that are thinking of leaving, needing more education, and have left domestic violence relationship or domestic violent relationships. My main focus is recovering from narcissist abuse and identifying narcissist abuse, which falls under the umbrella of domestic violence. It is domestic violence. And narcissism, which is a psychological or a personality disorder. It is a disorder of the character of an individual, which stems from some type of traumatic event that has happened in their life as they were growing up. More than likely, it was during their childhood. Even though some therapists and some practitioners have had experience with those with narcissistic personality disorder and say that some traumatic event had happened, such as abuse, neglect, rejection, abandonment, majority of the cases that I have had, matter of fact, all of the cases that I have had, and I'm just speaking of my experience as a clinician, all of the cases that I have had that I had to refer every single one of those individuals that were diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder under the description of the DSM, which remember was the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. Hold on, let me pull it out for you so you can look at it. The manual is the diagnostic and statistical, so I've been saying it wrong, my own book, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorder, 5th edition, DSM-5. This is what we use to do diagnosis, the psychiatric world, the psychology world, psychiatric nurses when they're doing medication. This is the manual that we use. You have to be careful because sometimes in the court system, lawyers try to pull this book up and try to describe mental health disorders, but that's just like us pulling up law books and then trying to represent or trying to defend ourselves in courts, and we have no knowledge of it because we have no experience or have worked on cases. So likewise, but under the DSM-5, narcissistic personality disorder, all the cases that I have had, and I know some therapists may have had different experiences, all the cases that I've had have had childhood sexual abuse, some type of sexual trauma, and neglect or rejection or physical abuse to go along with that. And from that point forward, as I said before, just like an autoimmune deficiency, which is the autoimmune, the immune system that has turned against itself, has went awry and began fighting the body as if the body is diseased, but the immune system begins to fight the body. It's called an autoimmune deficiency. Likewise, with narcissistic personality disorder, it is a defense mechanism, a mental defense mechanism gone awry. So it's a disorder, and the main characteristics are the grandiosity in thinking, the grandiosity, and the lack of empathy, no empathy, no conscience. Along with that, also those with narcissistic personality disorder or personality disorders in general can have more than one personality disorder. There are some narcissists, the malignant, more violent type, that also have sociopath or psychopathic either tendencies or actually have the diagnosis, which is the anti-personality disorder. Anti-personality disorder, I think that was right. But it's a sociopath or psychopathic personality disorder. They can also have those, and those are very dangerous. Narcissist is dangerous in itself, the diagnosis for the individual, and then the other two diagnoses that go along with that is also really bad. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the emails. Thank you so much for the comments on the YouTube channel. Thank you for letting me know this is helping you. Please let me know if there's any topics that you would like me to talk about. You can welcome to post it on the YouTube channel or even on the Facebook channel that I have, or you're welcome to email me, Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmenBryant @outlook.com. You're welcome to email me. Please let me know. Let me know this is helping you. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Let me know, who might be going through something, you have some questions, and I can answer them, you know, in a video. But thank you once again for your support. I really appreciate. I appreciate all of those that have subscribed to my channel. Please, you know, take the opportunity to subscribe. I am Dr. Carmen Bryant, and the YouTube channel is Dr. Carmen Bryant. Overcoming narcissist abuse. You know, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so that you can be alerted whenever I post videos, or you can also go to my Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Thank you guys again. And so today, before the weekend comes, I just wanted to post a video, and I wanted to talk about the cycle of narcissistic relationship. You have the cycle of abuse, and you have the cycle of narcissistic relationship. And I went back to Miss Dana, which is thriveafterabuse.com. I really like, she has a really good blog, social blog. And even though we don't, you know, as a clinician, as a practitioner, or even as a researcher, you know, we don't use blogs to write research. That has to be studied. We try to go from professional papers, go and look at professional writings to bring you more information. But that requires time. So if I have to go in, and sometimes I do, you know, for more in-depth conversation, a lot of times I go to the blogs or what people are saying, and to add my 2 cents to what they're saying, to give you a real life experience, to make you think. And some of these, and as I said before, a lot of the coaches and people that have been through narcissist abuse have turned that around and began educating people. Ms. Dana happens to be a psychiatric nurse. Let me look. It is www.thriveafterabuse.com. And she is, let's look. Okay, I lost you somewhere. Her name is Dana Morningstar, and she has a book called Out of the Fog. I think she has another book that I mentioned, Moving from Confusion to Clarity After Narcissist Abuse. Her name is Dana Morningstar. And she is, she says she's a former advocate for victims of domestic violence, and she's currently a psychiatric RN, and also a person recovering from narcissist abuse. She was a victim of narcissist abuse. Many of us that talk about it have been. And so hopefully you're learning something about it. But I just wanted to go and share her her writings really quick. Let's look. I think she got some more books on here. Yeah, she has another one. One is called Start Here. Another one's Insight Journal. So she's got some pretty good stuff, you know, to help you in your recovery phase. So let's look. So in 1979, Lenore E. Walker developed what's called the cycle of abuse. So those of you that are domestic violence advocate or understand the cycle of abuse for domestic violence, you know, it was number 1 is the tension building, which tension increases, breakdown of communication, victim becomes fearful and feels the need to placate. Okay. And I want you to know sometimes I do mispronounce. Just like oxytocin is oxytocin. So my mistake. But hopefully you knew what I was talking about. But anyway, the tension building. Number 2, incident. So verbal, emotional, physical abuse starts, anger, blaming, arguing, threats, intimidation, and then reconciliation. Abuser apologizes, gives excuses, blames the victim, denies the abuse occurred, or says that it wasn't as bad as the victim claims. So downplay how serious it was, or how serious the abuse was. And then the calm, the honeymoon phase. The incident is forgotten, no abuse has taken place. The honeymoon phase. You know, sometimes they act as if it never happened. You're crazy. You know, that's gaslighting too. So now let's look at the cycle of narcissistic relationship. Okay, so the cycle, she has a chart on here. It has idealize, devalue, and discard. So let's look. So it's idealize, devalue, replace, discard by the narcissist, or discard by the victim. No contact, gray rock, and then it goes on to hoovering and back to idealizing. Okay, so in the first stage is when the narcissist and the victim first begin the relationship. So we talked about this before. It's the love bombing as red flag. Number 1, the love bombing. When a person is over perfect, when they're everything is, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Oh my gosh, you're so this, you're so that, you're so this. You know, pay attention to that. They love bomb you. They rush into intimacy. So they rush into relationships. They even rush into marriage. You know, it's almost as if you don't have a starting point to grow gradually into the relationship. It's like they meet, they love bomb, and they jump all the steps. It's like, we need to get married, you're the person of my dreams, you're this, you have, you have this compared to what my last had. You got to be careful. So listening, offering emotional support. They're great listeners, and they offer a lot of emotional support. But remember, excuse me, this is not for the purpose of trying to learn you or get to know you. This is a purpose of learning your vulnerabilities, what we talked about yesterday, learning your vulnerabilities and finding that place that is vulnerable to later reverse that and use it against you. Mirroring. One thing in counseling that we're taught when we go through the master's program, when we're learning how to counsel, in certain situations you're learning how to mirror the client. For example, if you have a person that's going through grief and loss, they may be leaning forward on their legs, and so when you're talking, you lean forward on your legs. How they position their bodies, you position their body, but it's to make them feel comfortable. You're mirroring them. You're mirroring them to make them feel comfortable so that you can, get a good dialogue going. But for a narcissist, they mirror you because they're trying to, they're a chameleon, so they're trying to figure out how to match you to make you feel like you care, and because a lot of communication is not verbal. A lot of communication is physiological. Your body language is nonverbal. So more of your communication is nonverbal as opposed to verbal. And so they'll mirror you to the point where, remember, you may bring up these weaknesses and what you're interested in, and all of a sudden, a week later, they're interested in the same thing that you're interested in. The way that you talk, they'll go research and try to have a conversation with you about the very topic that you like, but it sounds like they know what they're talking about. So they'll mirror you. They'll mirror what you're doing. They'll mirror what you're saying. If they know that you may have a powerful position or job, they'll mirror the language. They are trying to conform to what you're putting out to create that perfect person. So everything that you're saying, you are writing the script for them to be that actor in that script. Charming, they're very charming. You have those that are covert narcissists are very charming to people around them. That's why a lot of people don't understand, how is this possible? That is such a nice person. They'll give their last dollar, they'll take a shirt off their back, because they're very, very charming. They're very, very charming when it comes to that initial stage of trying to pull you in. Hypersexuality, sex drive is off the chain, and those a lot of times are the somatic narcissists too, where based on what women have told me, a lot of narcissists are really sexually gratifying to them. They really are good at gratification. They're really self-gratifying, but the sex, and I've spoken to a lot of women, said the sex was just great. It was the best sex that they've ever had. So they'll use that to pull you in. They'll use that to lock you in. And then, of course, there are other ones that say that I don't even know what it was, the sex and his looks was bad. So that's male and females alike. But they're good at manipulating. The devalue stage. So the next is the devalue stage. That's either to the victim's face or behind their back. If this stage is done behind the victim's back, they may not realize anything is wrong in their relationship until they are discarded. So walking on eggshells. Oftentimes bouts of narcissistic rage, which can include one or more types of abuse: verbal, physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, financial. Do you know that sometimes when a narcissist is trying to hoover or trying to love bomb a new source of supply, because they get frustrated because they can't get what they want and it's taking more time than they expect, that they'll come home and they will rage the family. They're frustrated, they're angry, so they'll let the rage and anger and their frustration out in the current with the current source of supply in the family before they even discard you. And so a lot of the rage sometimes is felt from either being devalued themselves, or that narcissistic injury on the outside, or the fact that they're trying to love bomb and pull in a new source of supply and it's not working the way that they want it to work. So instead of going off and flying into a rage with this new source of supply, they much rather do it to you because it risks the chance of not being able to connect with this new source of supply. And so what happens is the families walk around the eggshells. They know something is wrong. You can tell by the person's body language. You can tell by the way that they come in and how they speak. Very what's the word I'm looking for? Very condescending. How they answer questions, very short and brief. So you already know something has happened. So everyone is walking around on eggshells because they know how this narcissist is. And they start with the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, start comparing you, why you don't look like this, or why don't you cook like this, or have something negative to say, and you're thinking to yourself, like, where did this come from? What did I do? Psychological, sexual abuse, financial abuse, and then cheating. This is in that devaluing stage. You may find out they're cheating, they are cheating, and of course, you have to remember they're compulsive liars. That is a part of their personality. That is a part of that personality disorder because their whole life is a lie. Their whole image is a lie. So, you can't expect anything else. That's what they do. They lie. They lie so much that if you don't believe their lie, they fly into a rage. And to a point where they'll try to prove to you that that lie is the truth. I'm not going to say that they believe their own lie, but they get angry that other people don't believe their own lie. And then they try to live up to the lie to prove to you that they weren't lying in the first place. That is so confusing. So the parasitic existence, narcissists begin to mooch off of or financially drain the victim. You have to remember that the narcissist is a parasite. They are a parasite, they are a leech, and remember, they're connecting to a source of supply. They always need a source of supply. They're never going to be without source of supply unless they get old, ornery, and people don't want anything to do with them. Then they get worse than what they really are. It gets to a point where they can't connect with anybody. But they are always looking for a source of supply, and that source of supply provides them with fuel. What do you do when you pump fuel into your car? You fill the car up so they can drive a little farther, but you put that hose into the tank to pump out that fuel. So in actuality, in a gas station, underneath the gas station is that big pod that the fuel truck comes and fills up so that it has a certain amount of fuel. And so each when you go to the gas station, each one of those pumps, is pumping from under the ground, and it only has so many, maybe thousands of gallons of fuel, but eventually it's drained. So if no one comes to refill that pod that's up underneath, and I don't know if it's a tank underneath the ground, it's going to be depleted. There is no fuel at the gas station, so you can't go to the gas station and get any fuel. Well, that's what a parasite does. It drains the host of nutrients, of sanity, of any kind of supply that it had, any kind of fuel that it had. It needs to, and you'll start seeing people, if you know someone that's in a narcissistic relationship, look at them, what they look like when they first got into the relationship, young, vibrant, healthy, and then look at them now. They look drained, they look tired, they begin to age prematurely, because look at all the pressure that they're under in that house. But they do mooch off of the people that they connect to. So see, while you're downplaying yourself and you think that you have no value and that you have no self-esteem, the parasite, that narcissist, does, and they're draining you because you brought something of value. So you have more value than you think you have. You have more value than you think you have. Gaslighting, remember we talked about gaslighting. Victim begins to question their own behavior, their behavior. Is it them or is it me? Am I the problem, or am I just making a big deal out of nothing? You'll start going through that, like, I know something is wrong, maybe it's me. Stop blaming yourself and put the blame where it belongs. Put the accountability back on that person. If you're in a relationship, you need to, it is what it is, and you need to point that out. Everything is about that narcissist. And so that means that you can't do any right. Think about it for a minute. If you're in a relationship, how is it possible that you can never do anything right? It means you can't even chew gum and walk right. You can't wash dishes right. You can't wash clothes right. Your hair is not right. What do you know? Unless a man is a hairdresser or a barber, what do you know about hair and makeup? How do you tell me about my hair and makeup? Because they're comparing you to something else. So you have to stop downplaying your own self, and you have to put the problem where the problem lies. The problem is on them. But remember, no matter how many times you bring up a problem to a narcissist, they'll always find more wrong with you. And then remember, in the very beginning, when they were love bombing you and you were given all your vulnerable information about yourself, they'll use all of that information and twist it on you. And remember, you've already given that information, and so you'll begin to feel bad about yourself, like, yeah, you are right. Yeah, this is a problem that I've had. Yeah, you've always had a low self-esteem, so why would you trust anybody? And I understand that, and I'm working with you. Why is everything your problem? Why won't they take accountability themselves? Because they're a narcissist. Okay, now we get to the stage of replacement. So identifies and lines up a new source of supply for new fuel, because you have been depleted, or you are depleting, or you have become aware of what is going on. So you are no longer a good supply for them, because you're no longer going to provide them with the supply that they need. That admiration, agreeing with everything that they say. Oh my gosh, you are the best thing since sliced bread. Now you're beginning to realize something is wrong with you. I know that everything is not wrong with me. Something is wrong with you. So you have now, all that hard work they put into controlling you, you're breaking it up for them. You're messing up what they have done. So a lot of times it's not that you ran out of sources, you ran out of fuel, and there's nothing left to take from you. Sometimes you finally woke up and you won't give them that fuel anymore. So they have to find someone else that's going to elevate them and put them back on their throne. And so generally it's a new or a former partner. The silent treatment given to the current partner. So all of a sudden you get the silent treatment. They don't talk to you as much anymore. They avoid you. If they're out of town, or they don't contact you as often, they don't text you as often, because their whole focus is on another supply. You can't put all your energy in one place. You have to, not you, but the narcissist trying to pull in that new source of supply, and it requires a lot of energy and a lot of work to make themselves, to love bomb, to buy them things, to take them out, to take them to restaurants, to woo them. The same energy they put into you is the same energy they're putting in to that new source of supply. The behaviors and stories make the current partner suspicious. So if you've been with a person long enough, you can tell when their behavior changes. Your man didn't put on cologne before. All of a sudden he comes in smelling like Nordstrom's, or back in the day Gafers. He comes in and he's smelling real good. He didn't take that many showers before. All of a sudden you taking a shower in the evening, in the morning, and in the afternoon. All of a sudden you done bought new clothes. You used to walk around with sweatpants and tennis shoes. Now you walk around in suits all the time. It's not like you don't think that you're crazy, because you're not. Don't let them gaslight you. You know something has changed. Even in sexual experiences, women, if you're sexually active with this person, number one, if you suspect that this person is a narcissist or they're out there, you need to protect yourself, because AIDS and HIV is blind. Now they have stuff that's super gonorrhea and syphilis and stuff that is coming back, that was eradicated at one time or controlled, is coming back like a super virus. Ladies, you got to support, you got to protect yourself. I don't care what he tells you to make you believe him. Protect yourself. If you suspect that this is going on, protect yourself. There are many women that have been affected by HIV and AIDS, and it came from a person that was promiscuous, like the narcissist. So you need to protect yourself. A lot of relationship, you do what you want to do in a relationship. I'm a therapist. I shouldn't talk about it in therapy, especially if you have oral sex. If they have oral sex with you, you better protect yourself. There is mouth condoms. You better go get a mouth condom, because they don't care. They do not care. They have no empathy towards you. If they get a disease, then you need to get the disease too. So me and you both gonna have this disease, So you guys got to be careful. You have to be careful. If you suspect it, go protect yourself. Let's see. Take those suspicions as a red flag. You got a gut instinct, go with the gut instinct. Just like police officers say, they go off of instinct, they go off of experience, and they go off of gut instinct, and that's how they solve their cases. Victim experience narc talk. Remember yesterday we were talking about the narc talk. Go back and watch the video from yesterday, which is the manipulation techniques. And those manipulation techniques, the narc talk. So you go back and look at those narc talk. Projection, accusing the partner of cheating, lying, stealing, or behaving, and they're not. So they're projecting what they're doing on you. If you be quiet, they'll tell you everything that they're doing. A lot of times we talk too much. But if you're quiet and you just listen, they get uncomfortable with quietness. They'll tell on themselves. Now, the more experienced narcissists, they won't, because they have learned their craft. They've learned their craft. But an inexperienced narcissist, you be quiet. They'll tell on themselves, because they'll accuse you of everything that they're doing. Then you'll know what they're doing. Create flying monkeys by telling new source of supply lies and half-truths about the victim, aka smear campaigns. So remember, they also have flying monkeys that they worked hard on, and the new source of supply becomes a flying monkey, and a support. And so, of course, you are the bad person. They don't take, they give the other person just enough information to make it believable, but they're never going to totally tell the truth. They never will. That's too vulnerable for them. And so you become this horrible ex-wife, ex-husband, and all these horrible things that you've done. You blow up into rages, and you do this, and you went to my job, and you did this and that. See, the part that they're not telling them is how they provoked you to do that. They provoked you, and then that's what you ended up. That was your response. So that's why I tell you, you have to get your emotions under control, because they're going to use it against you. The narcissist doing damage control behind the scenes, trying to save their public image. They're going to do whatever they can to smear your name, to make you look bad, to protect their reputation, because they know that if you get out and start talking about it, it's going to make them look bad. And there are some people that will believe them, and there are some people that will leave the flock of flying monkeys and believe what you're saying, because some of the behavior lines up with what they're saying, what you're saying. So a lot of that behavior, people start to look like, you know what, he or she does do that, you know. So now if you're discarded by the narcissist, generally is very sudden and without warning. It's like a light switch, and like approach to both relationship and partner. I love you, you don't exist. You know, one day they're loving you, wanting to take you on a trip, and the next day they found somebody else and connected with that individual, and then they're gone. And be prepared, because you're never going to get closure. You have to get your own closure, because they're not going to ever give you closure. And if you try to contact them for closure, it's just a hoovering. They just want to make sure that you're still in there. It's almost like they laugh at you like, yep, you're still there. So if I ever need you, you're like in that little case break in case of emergency, you're still there. And every now and then I just throw you a little attention and you're still there. And you're pitiful and you're pathetic. That's how they think. And so you have to be prepared. You're never going to get closure with them. You have to find your own closure. And by watching these videos and other videos about narcissism, you'll understand why you'll never get closure. You have to understand that they have a problem, a serious problem, and they look very normal in society. No one would ever suspect, but you know, that's all that matters. And so you have to come, in conclusion, you have to come with your own closure. In conclusion, closure. Continue to start as a silent treatment. They go silent on you because they're working on this new relationship. So what are they going to say to you? They're working on this is a great source of supply now, because they don't know anything about them. So of course it's great, but eventually the mask is going to fall off, like it says here, and it shows their lack of remorse and empathy. Trust you me, that new supply, they'll figure it out. They'll see it. They may be caught up too much. They may be too financially invested, and they'll try to make it work. Probably because they don't know anything about narcissism. So they don't understand that they'll never change. So there's always that hope. Remember from yesterday's video, they always depend on that hope that they're going to change. They just have some problem. You have to be empathetic, and the narcissist knows how to play the emotion. They know how to play that little violin. If discarded by the victim, ideally you go no contact and go gray rock. If no contact isn't possible. If the victim doesn't realize their partner is a narcissist, they will most likely continue this cycle until they can't stand it anymore, at which point they generally go no contact or gray rock. They don't want to have anything to do with them, period. Let's see. Hoovering. You know, that narcissist will try to hoover, to try to pull you back in. Dosing, which is everything that is found in stage 1 of idealization, but to a lesser degree, is just the needed dose to make the hoovering effect or suck the victim back in. They don't really mean it. Let's see. Remember, regardless of who ends the relationship, some people experience these following, have these following experiences. Remember, you're replaced almost immediately, because the new supply has already been there. They've already been working on that new supply while you were still there. So normally when they leave, you're replaced very, very quickly. Does the new, and I've made a video of that, does a new source of supply get a new man or woman? No, they just get a worse one that you had. So it's really good that you left, because now they're worse because they've learned some things on what not to do and do better. But trust you me, they're even worse than what they were with you. The mask just hasn't fallen off yet. But eventually you have to feel sorry for the new source supply, because they're oblivious. They don't know. They have no idea. But they're going to find out, just like you found out. And people in the past have found out. They probably just didn't have a name to put with it. Oftentimes the victim is fearful of the narcissist, especially because they find out or realize they don't have any empathy. Then a lack of regard and remorse. You may go through fear, love, hate, rage, sadness, and relief. You know, this is all part of the grief and loss process. You may have intense emotions and pain. They may lead to night terrors, anxiety, panic attacks, bouts of unexplainable crying, depression, wanting to isolate yourself, feeling unworthy, deeply damaged self-esteem, guilt, suicidal thoughts, and feelings. This can develop into post-traumatic stress. You may feel misunderstood by family members. Your families don't know what you're going through. They see it and they give like bad advice sometimes. Well, you need to just give that person another chance. You know that person loves you, because that narcissist has probably played on your family too. You know you'll never meet anybody like that. Look at all the stuff that he's done or she's done for you. Look at what they bought for you and look what you have. You know what you've been through. And then the victim a lot of times walks around confused because you're listening to your family or good friends. You have a hard time explaining what you've been through, but you sound like a crazy person because you're hurting. Families and friends could be well intentioned, but a lot of times the unhelpful advice: go back, start over, give them a chance. But you know what you've been through with this individual. You have to make a stand and put boundaries up. Some of your the residue from the relationship is low self-esteem, shame, embarrassment, feelings of being devalued, of course. Let's see. The narcissist may demand money, steal money out of your account, shut down your credit cards. They've left so quick. You could still be in a marriage. They left and shut everything down as if you're the side chick, and then the side chick is the wife. So they'll begin to handle the wife as if you're the side chick and I can't cheat with you anymore because I have a girlfriend wife. I've seen that happen where the man pretends to be married to another woman and the wife is now the side chick. So I can't have an affair with you. Even heard a man say, lady was telling me, heard a man say that, I don't have a problem with infidelity anymore, while he's with the other chick, and he's saying this to the wife. So look how really, I want to say messed up, but that sounds really bad. But look how bad this personality disorder is. Look how really messed up these individuals are in their mind, in their thought process. The way that they play these games is almost unrealistic. And we need to make a movie about this, but it's almost unrealistic. Is horrible, and it's the truth. You see it, you know it, now you have a name for it. And so I'm going to end because I have a client coming in. Thank you guys so much. Please leave your comments. Please contact me, Dr. Carmen Bryant at Outlook.com. It's DrCarmenBryant at Outlook.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant with a T, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I know some of you guys ask, why do I always say with a T? Because there's another Carmen Bryant who I don't know if she had an affair with Jay-Z, who knows. And there's also a prophet, Carmen Bryant. But I'm Dr. Carmen Bryant with a T, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. I also have a Facebook page, Psychological Health Consultants and Services. Please, subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell so you can see whenever I post new videos. And on my Facebook page, like the page. It's my professional page, and I post stuff on there all the time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments, the private emails, even the comments on the YouTube videos, and the shares. Share. Get this information out of there. Let's strengthen ourselves. Let's get this information out. You may be helping someone you don't even realize that they're going through what they're going through. Or for some people, they finally had the epiphany like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is what I've been going through. This is exactly, some people have said, some of you have commented and said, you are telling my pain. You are telling my story. Because all of us have similar experiences. Different people, similar experiences. But I guarantee you when we talk about it, it sounds very similar to you. Why? Because narcissist if you look at the diagnosis and the games that they play, it's all the same thing. Just different people, But thank you guys once again. Hey, as my friend always said, go and be great. And I'm going to add to it, I really mean that. Go and be great.